Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Dirty Martini. I hope you're doing well and I hope you're having an amazing day. I just want you to prepare for this episode because it is fully going to be making a big deal out of the most minuscule things. Me doing an incredibly irrelevant and unnecessary rant, and me, as per usual, blowing things out of proportion to make myself angry. Hi, how are ya? In other words, this week I'm coming to you with exciting news, and that news is that 'tis the season already. This week it started snowing in the Netherlands, or at least in the city I live in, and in my 3 or roughly almost 4 years of living here, I don't think I've seen that strong and heavy of a snowfall like the one that has been happening this week. It is just that here the snow is not necessarily an occurrence, and in the rare instances that it does snow, it is mixed with rain, and the snow never lasts, and it's not good snow. And as a Bulgarian, trust me, I know what good snow is, which is why I am so extremely excited that I have the opportunity to go back home for Christmas and celebrate there. And hopefully we will have snow. Although it's been quite a few years in a row, I would say, that we haven't had snow for Christmas. Shout out to global warming and climate change. And actually, it's not just Christmas. Our seasons back home switched. And now what used to be the weather in the November, December, January period is now January, February, March. And in particular, in February, it is always so extremely snowy. And there's snow up to my knees sometimes. And it's like the very other end of the spectrum to what I'm experiencing right now. But credit has to be given where credit is due. And it did snow, and the snow lasted, even if it's just for 24 hours. And it was the first time that it was actually snow on the nicer side. Now, the problem is that the country apparently has no preparation. It was like so not ready infrastructurally and in any other way, shape, and form, if I'm being fully honest with you. They simply were not ready for the snow. What I mean, you may ask? Well, on Monday, when the first snowfall happened, I was like, oh, you know what? I'm not going to walk to university. I'm actually going to catch the bus so that I don't have to walk through this quote-unquote storm. The thing is, on Monday, it didn't snow heavily. I mean, it kind of did at first, but not on a concerning level, I would say. Again, coming from a Bulgarian. And it was very shocking to me that a snowfall of 1 millimeter fully screwed over my city's public transport system. And what I mean is, so I left early because I thought, it's snowing. I'll just leave early, catch the earlier bus so that I can get to university in time. Well, thank God I left 10 minutes early just to arrive 30 minutes late. And what did exactly happen? Well, I left early to catch the earlier bus, and that one was late. And then because I don't have a bus that goes directly to university from where I live, I have to change buses. And the one I was supposed to catch at my second bus stop was getting delayed by a couple of minutes every minute. And it ended up being over 25 minutes late, which means that I arrived late for my lecture. And it's the first time that I've been late for my lecture in my entire university experience, and I hated it. Not only did I hate disturbing the class by entering in the middle of it. I felt like it was extremely disrespectful, and it was just like terrible. When it comes to hanging out with friends or meeting up with someone or going somewhere, I am more laid back with being late. Even though I don't like being late because of the way I was raised. When I was little, I was always the one who was at least 15 minutes early to everything. Because during my gymnastics years, when they taught us like how to present ourselves, they were like, if you're not at least 10 minutes early, that means you're late. But since I came to university, I've noticed that I've been going based off of my own perception of time and punctuality, which isn't great, but when it comes to university and work, I'm never late. I just feel this extreme pressure from back in the day to show up on time, and if I don't, I just find it very disrespectful to the other person and also to myself who is going there with some sort of an intention. But back to the bus journey. Also, it was super annoying because it kept on getting delayed and delayed and delayed. And then we were stuck in traffic, and I'm like, bro, we don't even live in a large city. I cannot see this infrastructure operating in any proper city with actual heavy traffic. And I have a friend who got a degree in urban planning, and he's very critical of the transport infrastructure of the city. So if you don't believe me, trust him. What is even more, and I swear, because I was waiting at the bus stop and there were a lot of people, because by that point a couple of buses would have passed, I still got soaked by the snow. So I just decided that from now on, no matter the weather, I should just stick to my walking because it proved more time efficient, more reliable. And at the end, I still got soaked, but if I walk, I'll make it on time at least. And just a little side note about me being soaked. Yes, I don't have an umbrella. Yes, I don't have a raincoat. Yes, maybe I am the problem, but yes, it is just out of the picture, out of question. I simply don't plan on buying one. I don't plan on purchasing an umbrella, and I definitely don't want to buy a raincoat. I just, tough it out and go through the rain with my hood on. My mom calls me at least once a week with the question, did you buy an umbrella? Did you buy a raincoat? And no, I haven't. And no, I won't. If I have survived 3 years without them, I'm pretty sure I'm good. Also, it is so annoying to have to carry an umbrella or a raincoat when they're already wet. Like, where do you put them? That's just too much work. I'm just not willing to do that type of work my clothes will dry. I will dry. Also, not to sound too posh, because if you've seen me in real life, you know that I don't put in too much effort into my appearance, which I should. But even I know that a raincoat fully ruins the entire aesthetic of an outfit. So if they made them prettier, if they made them more wearable when it comes to aesthetics, I would be willing to wear one. I just don't understand why it is always the most functional things that have to have the ugliest design. Whatever. It is moments like these that make me really question if I really want to go through with my dream of eventually moving to a larger city. Because this thing, the traffic that I experienced on Monday, annoyed me so much and it pissed me off so much. And this city that I'm currently living in is already significantly larger than the town I come from. The one I'm currently living in has a population of 200,000 people. And I come from a town with 30,000 people. So, as you can imagine, this was a very big leap for me. It was a big shock. And initially, and to this day at times, still seems quite crowded. So I cannot imagine what it must be like in a city like New York, for instance, that has a population more than the entirety of Bulgaria altogether. So I really don't know if I've put a lot of thought into my dreams and if my dreams are actually something that I want, because I don't think, no, I know that I cannot put up with crowds. I just hate crowds. I hate crowds so much. There's a duck outside of my window currently that is quacking. No, quack is not the sound a duck makes. Well, the making ducks noises, and if you're hearing it, I'm sorry. It's distracting me a little bit, but like, bestie, you should be sleeping now. Why are you up? Anyways, it wasn't easy for them during the snow either. Like, they all ran off trying to find hiding places. So, shout out to that dog. Where was I? Oh, I hate crowds. I hate crowds so much. I hate them with a passion. There's nothing that angers me the way a crowded place does. And especially when that crowded place is full of slow walkers. A slow walker is the bane of my existence. How difficult is it to put one foot in front of the other with pace? Like, chop chop, have some sense of urgency. I'm not saying run, but like, come on. And like, don't stop in the middle of the street, and or like, don't go zigzaggy. Like, it is very difficult for me to walk around you, and I'm like, I don't mean to I don't want my youthful stride to make you feel inferior, but please, I am in a rush. Let me go, because that's why I'm late, not because of my lack of ability to spread things out, in a timely manner, but because of slow walkers. And like, honestly, as much as I'm joking, I'm not joking. Like, as someone who walks everywhere, and the streets here, the pavements are very, very narrow, and people decide to walk in the very middle of those pavements, and or like zigzag around them. And I'm like, girl, like, let me through. It's like, just. And when they are so unaware of their surroundings and so ignorant of them, it's, oh my god, I always try to pass them, and I'm like, let me squeeze through. That's all I want. So if this is how I've been managing occupying a space with 200,000 people around me, I cannot imagine what it would potentially be like if I moved to one of the cities that I have on my bucket list currently. But I guess that's a problem for future me, because currently, even if I wanted to move to one of those cities, I cannot afford to move out. So, and today, the day after the quote-unquote proper snowfall, I had to walk to work. But the thing is, the streets were covered not in snow, they were covered in ice. And let me fully Karen this one out, because I got really, really mad, because it is fully a safety hazard. It is dangerous, not only to me, but also to, like, I live in a neighborhood with a lot of elderly people and a lot of families with young children. And if those people, like, if I'm the one struggling to walk, and I'm not saying that I'm better than them, but it's like, you know what I mean? So like, if I'm struggling with this, I cannot imagine what it must be like for like an 80-year-old grandma that's walking with a cane, or like a child that is still learning how to properly walk. So what I mean is, The street was not covered in snow, it was covered in ice, and nothing had been undertaken by, whoever's in charge of these situations. No actions were undertaken to deal with this. And I don't mean to be a hater. And I don't mean to be a Karen. Yeah, you know what? We agreed on this. I mean to be a Karen. I will wholeheartedly be a Karen in this situation. But I really don't mean to sound extremely patriotic and nationalistic. But in Bulgaria, this doesn't happen. I mean, streets get covered in ice, that is natural. But those once noted, especially the main streets, they are never left unattended. Like, at least they sprinkle some salt or some sand on them. So, yeah, that really pissed me off because of this icy situation, because of this Elsa frozen situation, I decided to catch the bus because otherwise I was going to break my face at the least. And the 3-minute walk I had to the bus stop actually took me almost 10 because it was so difficult to move, like, and stay on my 2 feet instead of just fall on all fours. So during that walk, I nearly fell 17 times. And then the 5-minute walk from the bus stop I got off at to my workplace, you know what? Make that 17 times triple. And like, my life flashed before my eyes. It's just like, I don't know. I know it's very mundane and I know it's like, but it's dangerous. And like, in moments like these, I am actually filled with even more gratitude that I don't have a bike, because I cannot imagine like what it would be like to slide with a bike on this ice. So no thank you. You know what? I think that's enough about the weather forecast for now. When seasonal depression hits in, I will bring up the weather again, because that is inevitable. Seasonal depression is a must, and I will let you know. But for now, let's leave it as it is. There are two things that keep me excited during winter. One of them, this could be TMI, I don't know. But one of them is the fact that I don't have to shave my legs every single day, which I feel like every single woman who does any form of body hair removal relates to, because it is so extremely annoying and so extremely time consuming. And the fact that I can spare myself a week here and a week there and nobody will care and nobody will judge me because nobody will see, fascinating. I swear to God, every single time I do any sort of body hair removal, I'm like, I want someone to estimate how many months, if not years, in my life altogether in total I will spend removing hair that is completely natural, that is part of my body, like my biology, that is part of who I am by nature. And honestly, can we just what I'm trying to do is just urge everyone to please stop the stigma around body hair on women. And can we please stop bullying little girls into waxing their legs when they're only 11? Thank you. Not speaking from experience, or maybe very much speaking from experience. Anyways, that is a trauma dumping session for another time. There's currently a mosquito on my leg. Why is there a mosquito on my leg? In November. Shouldn't you be gone? That is okay. You know what's the thing that excites me about winter and the cold? That there are no flies and no mosquitoes. So what are you doing here? What? Anyways, on an even brighter side, it is finally my favorite time of the year. it has come. And I don't mean winter. I don't mean Christmas. I don't mean constant darkness and waking up in darkness and going to work in darkness and getting out of work during dark times, like, and not seeing the sun for 4 months straight. No. What I mean is the fact that it is finally tangerine season. There are 2 seasons in the year which bring me joy. Those are the cherry season and the tangerine season. And because I couldn't enjoy cherry season this year to the extent that I would have loved to because I wasn't in Bulgaria, I will try my best to make the most out of the tangerine season. The other day I bought 2 kilos of tangerines and they're gone. I could live off of them. Oh my God, I love them so much. I eat a single net, 1 kilo net every single day. And I feel like every Balkan person relates to this adoration, this relationship. Now, why am I saying every Balkan person? And also every country that was in the Eastern Bloc and the Soviet Union and Yugoslavia, blah, 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 blah. Every communist country in Eastern Europe in the 20th century can relate to this. Now, why can they relate to this, you may ask? If you're listening to this and you're from the West and there's never been 20th century communism in your country, well, you might be a little bit, why? What is she talking about? Well, talk to a single person from any post-Soviet or post-Eastern Bloc country, any person born before 1980s so that they can have memories, because 1989, shout out Taylor Swift, 1989 and 1991, some revolutions happened and some governments were overturned and some systems collapsed and yada yada. So talk to any person born pre-1980s and they will tell you, no, they will not tell you, they will talk your ear off about how there were no bananas and no oranges in the store, no tangerines. And during Christmas and New Year's Eve, well, they actually didn't celebrate Christmas, they celebrated New Year's. But I'll talk to you about this in a second. So during that time was the only time of the year when they were available. That type of fruit was available, and people would queue for hours on end for a single banana and a single orange because they had rations and you could not exceed that ration. It was depending on your family and whatever, like how many members were there. Unless, of course, you had some real deep connections that could hook you up with a couple more oranges. And I know this may sound ridiculous, but I honestly shout out to democracy because I cannot imagine living in a world without bananas, without oranges, without tangerines. I cannot. I love them too much. And I know that as a spoiled post-communist child, I'm taking them for granted maybe. And it is somewhat difficult for me to comprehend the fact that those things were once so scarce and so unavailable and so highly cherished. And I know how I cherish them now when I can go and buy a kilo every single day, all year round. I cannot imagine the exhilaration people back then would feel during Christmas, well, New Year's. Well, again, it wasn't Christmas. It was, they celebrated New Year's because Christmas is considered a religious holiday, a Christianity holiday, and during communism, at least I can speak about communism in Bulgaria, religion was not allowed. The only faith, so to call it, you were allowed to have was the faith in the political party. And they didn't have Santa Claus back then. It was a figure called Dia do Mraz, which literally translates to Grandpa Frost. And he very much resembled Saint Nicholas and Santa Claus, but he was the Eastern Bloc communist version. And I find this all so fascinating. And my parents lived through that, and it's just fascinating to think about how fast and how much political systems and how radically political systems can change within such a short amount of time, because objectively 30 years is wait no the 80s, well, the 90s were 30 years. The 90s were 30 years ago. Oh my god, no, they were 35 years ago. Oh my god. Because like when you say 35 years ago, to me, in my head, that's 1965. Oh my god, I'm getting old. Guys, a decade ago, when I say a decade ago, do you think of 2005 as well? Because a decade ago was 2015. Let that sink in. Anyway, let's not spiral there now, because I just don't have it in me to comprehend right now the passage of time and how I'm getting older without comprehending becoming an adult and letting life pass through me instead of me just living it, all fascinating stuff. But let's go back to Christmas and New Year's. And now that I'm thinking about it, like the Christmas thing and that, oh my god, the duck outside is going feral. This is such a messy episode. I hope you're enjoying it. Couldn't have planned it like this even if I wanted to. What can I say? Like, usually I record during the evening. Like, no, not during the evening, in the middle of the night. Like, as per usual, I record at 2 a.m. because that is when my housemates are asleep. So, and the house I live in has very thin walls. So if they were to simply sneeze or go in the kitchen, my microphone would pick it up. And that's why I record at 2 a.m. so that I can count on the idea that most of them are asleep and I will be able to give a better audio quality. But that dog is being fully riled up by some people under my window who are revving their engines, as you can probably hear just now. You know what? Anyways, where was I? Santa Claus, communism, no Christianity, particular set of holidays. Yeah. What I find fascinating about this is that maybe that's why some people, well, the majority of them, like people who lived during communism and were fully conscious during communism, not just like born and communism ended. So those people, I can now maybe understand why they're so opposed to any quote unquote foreign holidays and celebrations. I'm pretty sure you heard that revving engine. Like, I am trying to produce content here. Hello? It is 2 a.m. Where are you going? Why now? In a family neighborhood. Just why aren't you sleeping? It is a Saturday night, for God's sake. Anyways, so I can understand why those people are opposed to non-local traditions and holidays and celebrations. Just ask any Bulgarian, like hardcore devoted Bulgarian over the age of 50 about celebrating Halloween, for instance. But now I think I kind of understand where they're coming from to a certain extent, because those holidays like especially pagan ones or Christian ones or any religious ones, they don't align with what was instilled in them as right and wrong. And I don't know, man, I find this really interesting because it is also situational and so circumstantial and is really dependent on what was taught to us to be right and what was taught to us as wrong. And I don't know, like that's why I find anthropology so interesting, because when you think about it, that is really the thing, like that is the science that really, really matters, because it tells us stories about people, and people are the thing that makes people people. This was something that Noah Centineo would say during an awards ceremony. Like, it matters not what you do with what you've done. It matters what you do with what you've... I should probably go to bed. um. Anyways, let's just continue. I have a few more things to tell you, and then I'll let us all go. Class will be dismissed. What I wanted to say in relation to Christmas was that last year I did not watch a single Christmas movie or a single Christmas series. I didn't watch any holiday related things, content, because I was like, oh, I want to watch Christmas stuff when the snow comes. And because, growing up in Bulgaria, we used to have a lot of snow, like a lot of snow. And in my perception, in my idea of Christmas, in my idea of what winter is just loads and loads of snow. And because of, again, shout out global warming, for the past decade, I would say maybe we haven't had that much snow during December. Like winter switched again now to February. And it is, yeah, as I mentioned, February. Oh my God, February always for my dad and my mom's birthdays, because they are a day apart. It is always terrible snowstorms, and I mean like snowstorms that lead to no electricity, no nothing. But it's cozy and it's homey, and I don't know, it's just home. But last year, because I was so stuck to wait, what is the proposition? I was so stuck to waiting. I was determined to wait. That is how I do. Readapt. I was so determined to wait for the snow to come to finally watch something Christmassy, and the snow never came during Christmas or New Year's. I simply ended up not feeling Christmassy and ended up not watching anything until I realized, I only clocked it after everything was done, after the holidays had passed, when the milk was already spilled, and when it was already mid-January. And so this year, I don't want to do this. I want to actually devour Christmas, because last year I didn't even listen to Christmas music. Like Mariah, Ariana, Sabrina, George Michael. I'm sorry, guys. I betrayed you. I really did. And this year, I am going to make up for it. That's why I started already watching Christmas stuff. Well, I've only seen one Netflix Christmas movie, like a new one. And it was a type of movie that you can watch while scrolling on your phone. It wasn't anything revolutionary. It wasn't anything extremely captivating. But it was one of those cheesy, Christmassy movie, whatever. But it's something, it's a start. And you know what? It's a little bit mind-boggling to me, because I am also currently watching Outer Banks. And I don't think that there is a more summary TV series than Outer Banks. And I got a spoiler for Outer Banks, and I'm really, really pissed. Like, this spoiler, if you've already seen the series, You know what I'm talking about. It is like the final episode spoiler. And I got so mad. So if this is not the thing that will push me to get off of TikTok once and for all, I don't know what will. Maybe my New Year's resolutions. Although, let's leave those for a next episode because they are quite an interesting phenomenon that I would love to dive deeper into. I am also a little bit sad that they're creating the final season of Outer Banks because I love this show so much. It is such a vibe. Like, definitely the first season has such a special place in my heart. It was just COVID when my friend put me on it, and it was my escape, and I loved it so, so much, and I will always and forever love it. Actually, I think that Outer Banks and Big Mouth are the only series that I'm not talking of course excluding all the Disney Channel series, but like those two series are perhaps, as far as I remember, the only post Disney Channel series in my life that I've watched in real time from start to finish as they've been dropped. And these two series have, well, of course, also Human Resources, which is the spin-off, Big Mouth spin-off. So yeah, those, they have such a special place in my heart, and I will miss them when they end because both of them are ending. Both of them are set to release a last season within a year or two. So Nick Kroll, the creator, executive brain behind Big Mouth and Human Resources, if you're listening to this somehow, one day, probably, I don't know, someone force you, like, maybe if you know what, I'll just shut up because I don't want to. Thank you. Just thank you, Nick Kroll. Usually about Christmas, I don't like when I come to the Netherlands in September and the stores are already full of Christmas stuff. I think this is too early. I don't mean to be a downer, but like it is too early. I feel like maybe mid-November is when we can start introducing Christmas stuff. But I just miss the Christmas cheer of my childhood because now in my room here, I don't even decorate it. And I miss it. I miss this excitement that came with Christmas because Christmas now is just this commercialized event in my mind, and it is so stressful, and I want to bring back the enjoyment of it all. That's just basically me trying to tell everyone who's listening, who's expecting a gift from me, that I don't have the money to get you anything, so you're just getting the cheer of Christmas. You're getting the spirit of Christmas. Amazing. And I'm so sleep deprived. So if I can get you something and figure something out, I will. But honey, I don't have the means. Like, I'm sorry. Not even an 80% Black Friday sale will save me at this point. Another reason, I feel the juxtaposition. I find it very funny. One of my friends, his favorite word is juxtaposition, and he tries to slip it in every single sentence he speaks. Even if it doesn't fit in the context, he'll be like, yes, the juxtaposition. So anyway, another sensorial juxtaposition. I know, who is she? Who talks like this? So another sensorial juxtaposition when it comes to perceiving the seasons, like so summer and winter in particular, is the fact that I still have not moved past the Short and Sweet album by Sabrina Carpenter. It is, in my opinion, one of the best, if not the best pop albums created in a long time. And this is coming from a girl who adores pop music and loves every single pop girly out there. And what I'm about to share is not me trying to compare women and pit them against each other. It's just me trying to give Sabrina the recognition she deserves, because Short and Sweet is a pop masterpiece, in my opinion. I consume predominantly pop music, and it is just that Sabrina Carpenter, she really hit the target with that album. And I really, really hope that she's given the necessary recognition, because the girl, pop divas, like pop divas should be pop divaing. I fear she's pop divaing in a way pop divas haven't pop divaed in a while. And she is an amazing performer. And I'm honestly really sad that I will not have the opportunity to go to the Short and Sweet tour, because I literally found out just 3 days ago that the tickets for Europe have been on sale for months now. And as you can imagine, I miss them. So yeah, I will not be in attendance, unfortunately. I don't think any other tour has created this type of FOMO within me, like the Short and Sweet tour. Every single clip of that tour that I see, every single snippet of a performance, I'm like, this is art, this is theater, this is just chef's kiss. And I'm so happy that Sabrina's finally gaining the momentum that she deserves, because girl has been here for a long time. I personally have been following her since Girl Meets World, and to see her talent, her humor, her charisma, her personality and art being recognized the way they are now makes me so extremely happy. And the effort she and her team are putting into this show production is so magnificent and humbling. It is on the highest level, I think, and it seems to me like every single detail has been thought of and paid extensive attention to. So I'm happy to see her have such a massively successful run this year. So the good thing is that she also has a Christmas EP, and when I eventually move on from Short and Sweet, which I'm afraid will never happen, because this is I'm at the restaurant, I'm still there. It's just such a good album, guys. And I may get some hate for this. And please understand that I respect every single person in that category. I consume their music religiously. But I personally think that Sabrina Carpenter's Short and Sweet deserves the Grammy for Best Pop Album of the Year. Every single person in that category, why am I pronouncing? I am fully recognizing that today's episode is not my best. I am fully recognizing that I am bringing some silly, goofy energy and not Christopher Nolan type of production to you today, guys. You know what? I'm not even going to apologize. Maybe not everything should be Oscar worthy to be shareable. Let's just have fun. Let's just be silly geese together. What am I even saying? I have no clue. But it's just, I think that Sabrina is extremely deserving of that particular Grammy, of that award, of that recognition. But when it comes to pop, like the most stereotypical sense, I don't mean, well, stereotypical has a bad connotation to it. So maybe let's say traditional. When it comes to pop music in a traditional sense, I think that Sabrina embodied that this year. I think she's the embodiment of pop music currently. But when I eventually decide to let go of Juno and Badcam, I will start devouring her Christmas EP. And that just makes me excited. Like, Sabrina Carpenter's music and a track full of tangerines is all I need. They will make me forget the annoyance I feel thanks to the most mundane things. Well, maybe my boss was late because of the burnt toast theory. I guess we'll never know. I will just have to accept the things I cannot control and not let them affect me that deeply that they determine how I feel and how I perceive my life and the world around me. But that's a topic for another time. As for now, all I have to say is I am thankful that you listen to this nonsense. If you listen to this nonsense. Get it? Sabrina Carpenter nonsense? Anyways, I should probably just shut up and go watch the Pogues do yet another sacrilegious thing. So, I don't know if I should say thank you or sorry for listening to this episode, but I hope to see you in the next one. And until then, stay hydrated, wear sunscreen, and don't support genocide. Bye!